Hi, my name is Tim Jack, sales rep with Randox Toxicology, based in Tennessee. Today we have here Alpha McGinty, which is the Chief Deputy Coroner in Marion, Indiana. Today we'll be discussing the multistat and how they use it in their office. Okay, well, thank you. This is Alfie McGinty from Marion County. She's here with us for a little talk, a little chat about her and of course, her county. Yeah. And of course about Randox and the multistat. So thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Appreciate that. So really, the first question is just tell me a little bit about your office and your county, just so we get a little tidbit about that first.
Okay, so Marion County is centrally located in Indiana. It's the largest county in Indiana, population of just under 1 million. And Marion County is, we do investigations, death investigations on anyone who dies in Marion County. So our office, we have about 60 staff within our office. So I serve as the chief deputy. We have an elected coroner, and I have 18 investigators, 6 forensic pathologists, and 7 autopsy technicians.
Awesome, good. So I'm going to ask this question. I'm sorry, but do you carry a gun? Because, you know, I've been around other deputies and like, yeah, it's right here.
No.
Really?
So crazy thing is, I do not carry a gun. My dad was a police officer, and I was married to a sheriff, and I don't even know how to shoot a gun. Yeah.
Okay. Well, very good. So I guess next question is, can you provide an overview on how your office works when it comes to death? Like from A to B to C.
Okay.
You know.
Long process.
Right.
But let me give you the short version of that. So we are called on all homicides, suicides, accidents, infant and child deaths, suspicious or unexpected deaths.
Okay.
So when we get those calls, we have deputy coroners who go out and conduct those investigations. From there, the deputy coroners serve as the eyes and ears of the forensic pathologist to take that information from their death scene investigation back to the forensic pathologist who performs the autopsies.
Okay.
So we conduct a little over 4,000 death investigations a year. We respond to a little over 2,300 death scene investigations.
Wow.
We perform about 1,700 autopsies or external exams combined.
Right.
And then we decline the rest of, some of those cases. But because we're called on those cases, those are the cases that we sort of respond to identify if a person is a coroner's case or not.
Almost like a pick and choose, if you will, to see which ones fit your mold.
Yes.
In your office.
Yes. To see which ones meet the criteria that will require additional investigation.
Okay. Very good. So, is your county seeing an uptick in OD cases right now, or
right now we've seen a decrease? Now we saw an increase from 2019. Through 2023.
COVID probably.
And so we saw a significant increase. We saw, I would say from 2016 to 2020, it was about a 75% increase.
Gotcha.
Now, from 2022 to 2023, we did see about a 15% decrease in those death investigations related to drug intoxication deaths.
I was going to ask you, what do you think that related to? What types of drugs? And I'm probably jumping the gun here, but what types of drugs were in that mix that you're seeing?
Primarily fentanyl. That was our leading agent, or the leading tox screen that we saw. Most cases involved fentanyl.
Gotcha.
We saw a few cases of xylazine, and we did see an increase from 2022 to 2023 of xylazine of nearly 100%.
Gotcha.
So, for example, in 2022, we saw about 12 cases of xylazine, and in 2023, we saw about 24 or 25 cases of xylazine. And so we think that the decrease, though, in overall drug intoxication deaths could be possibly contributed to the availability of naloxone being in our community.
Gotcha.
So we got opioid settlement funds. And we use those funds to really market harm reduction, which includes the use of naloxone by the general population.
Okay.
So not just emergency medical technicians or emergency personnel that were responding to scenes,
Gotcha.
but also the general public. We tried to make sure that it was in the hands of all that were in our community so that they can save a life as well.
Gotcha. And that sounds like a whole lot that you're guys going through, looking at other stuff and looking at different stuff. Great. Now I'm gonna switch gears a little bit for you. I know that you guys purchased the multi-stat. Tell me about that. When was that? When did it happen? When did you purchase that from us?
So we purchased the multi-stat in 2023.
Okay.
I learned about it here at the conference.
Which one?
IACME conference.
Okay.
And started looking at it, talking about, what the use of it was.
Wow.
Maybe, and also looking at other counties and how they were using it.
Wow.
And so we thought it might be a great tool to assist us in looking at how we can identify cases that maybe were not necessarily drug intoxication cases.
Gotcha.
And how we could screen those cases out so that we can identify if further testing needs to be done.
Yeah.
Or what else should happen next.
Gotcha.
So we went into this as this could be a useful tool for us to just use as a screening for some of those cases that we were bringing in. Again, remember, we overall investigate about 4,000.
Yeah, that's a lot. So really, you're saying that
screen that down,
and really, you're saying that this was the ones that was brought you to the multi-status. What our capabilities were of screening the process.
Yes.
Okay, and how is that going so far? Like, is it been positive?
So we haven't started this exact screening process to identify which cases we need to examine or not.
Okay.
Because first we want to do a comparative analysis. Like, what are the results that we're getting from multi-stat?
Gotcha.
And looking at how does it compare to the actual tox screen that we're getting from other cases. So we want to be able to say, what's the reliability of the toxicology, that the screens and information that we're getting from multi-stat in order to move forward with that screening process.
Okay.
So we want to have an idea in how can we say the reliability is from the work that we're doing.
Gotcha.
So we know what the reliability is that's been tested in other markets and in other coroner's office. But we want to see, what does that look like for us?
Gotcha.
So that if there are any questions later, then we can say, we did our own comparative analysis, and this is what we came up with.
Gotcha. And when will that, you think, start to do that?
So we've started that process already.
Oh, good.
I can't say the exact number that we've actually tested in terms of cases and tox screens.
Okay.
But we're going to go through around September. And continue testing cases and doing that comparative analysis through the end of September.
Okay.
And then we'll have a good idea to say, we've tested this number of cases.
Right.
This was the tox screen and from multi-stat.
Right.
And then we have an actual tox screen from cases that we've sent to an outside lab. And then we can say, here's our analysis and here's our confidence in what the Randox can provide for us.
Yeah, you're using a comparative analysis, if you will, to see which one, to see how it stacks up, if you will.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Exactly.
Sounds good. So that was basically my number 2 question, but how has the multi-stat helps your office and community? I mean, I know you have it now, and you're kind of a hybrid, if you will, of what you're using it for right now, but what do you foresee? How is it going to help you in the future, with just having it there?
Yeah, we think that it could be time saving for us, so we can produce some tox results without waiting for a outside lab to give us that information. For example, using that Randox on, like, let's say, a suicide case.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the tox doesn't change the cause and manner of death on a suicide, but sometimes families just want to know what substance, if any, were in the system.
That's right.
So we can use it for that regard, and we can say, these are the substances that were or were not in your loved one's system, and here's the cause of death. And so we can get that in a matter of an hour and have that information for the family to give them some sort of resolve in what else was going on along with their loved one's suicide, or even in a natural death where it's clearly natural.
Gotcha.
And the tox does not necessarily change anything. Maybe they just want to know what drugs, if any, were in their system. So we're thinking that it could be potentially useful for time savings
Gotcha.
effort. You know, we don't have any more time.
Right.
So we're trying to decrease the amount that we have to put into each and every case.
Right.
And this, we think, may be the answer for that.
Gotcha. And just tell me, this is ease of use, right? Because I know that this multi-stat is pretty much easy to use. I mean, have you basically used it like per
I
se?
have not.
Okay. I was going to ask
My
you that.
plan is at the end of September to learn a little bit more about the use of it.
Gotcha.
Now I do have staff that have said that they have been trained,
Yes.
they are comfortable with using it.
Yes.
I've checked in with them multiple times just to see, do you feel like it saves a little bit of time? And they have identified that yes, they would much rather draw specimen than move a body to an autopsy table.
Right.
So in those cases, yes.
Okay.
The staff are very comfortable with using it. And so my goal is by the end of the year, I will use it myself and understand how the process in its entirety works.
Gotcha.
So that I can understand what the staff are going through as they're using it.
And speaking of your staff, I know that they've used the machine, but have they told you about the speed and accuracy of using the multi-stat? How's it going with that? Or like, this is fantastic? Or a little more about that?
Yeah, so they send me the results.
Good.
So I get those results via email on the cases that they presented just to see what they look like.
Yeah.
So they've expressed that they have not had any issues. Once they have gotten used to using it, they enjoy using it and they feel like it could potentially be used a lot more in the future.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going with that.
So basically, we're just hoping for the best on with how we use the machine with you guys of moving forward.
Yes.
Awesome. Good deal. So next question, really, how did you get your multi-stat? Tell the public out there of what you did step by step, A, B, and C with funding. Now, the secret, I understand, but
it is not secret.
Okay.
One of the things that I did was because this is related to toxicology.
Yeah.
And most of our drug intoxication deaths require toxicology.
Yes.
The goal was to request opioid settlement funding.
Right.
So that we could use the machine in our office to speed up the process.
Right.
To take a closer look at, some other opportunities to use this in other cases. For example, if we have a natural death, maybe we think that there's something suspicious. We could use this very quickly to say, yes, we need to send out, to an outside lab for additional toxicology. So I did request opioid settlement funds to make this purchase of the machine.
Did your office write the grant or when did that grant process start? Because I know a lot of coroners and medical examiners don't know when to start the process. I've heard from starting in January or starting in summer, but when did you start the process of actually getting it written, proposal, and sent up?
So it wasn't a grant. It was actually opioid settlement funds just came to each of the counties across the U.S.
Wow, okay.
And some counties know about the funding in terms of coroner's offices or medical examiner offices, and some don't. So our office knew of that funding that it just came to our county based on the numbers of overdose deaths that we've had.
Really?
So I knew what was coming, and so it's posted nationally what each county gets.
Right.
So I knew what was coming, and I asked for some of those funds to support purchasing this.
You just asked for it.
Yeah.
There you go.
You just ask for it. I mean, some depends on I made the proposal that we want to use the machine to speed up the process and to gather additional information.
Right.
And the county was comfortable with that.
And I know that some coroners have had problems with getting grants and money settlements to their county. So that's why I asked. Thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So do you have any personal observations from ODs or fentanyl cases you worked with in the past years? Like, was there an attachment to the ones you've seen come in that, because you're a leader in the community. So you may have seen people that you may have known or knew, and it just hurts. You feel in your heart, and I know fentanyl's ripping off the entire community. How do you feel about that, and what do you do with that?
Oh, wow. From a personal perspective, I did lose my son, Jimmy, in 2021 due to a fentanyl poisoning.
Yeah.
And it has totally changed the way that I operate.
Right.
Because we have seen more African Americans that are dying over the last couple of years due to fentanyl intoxication or fentanyl poisoning.
Right.
And so it has changed the way that we operate in terms of we have to know what's out there and educate our community
Right.
on how to prevent the use,
Right.
to prevent the death. So we have to start really early. So my proposal has always been to our county to educate people.
Right.
If you don't know, then you can't do anything about prevention.
Right.
And I'm a believer that you have to be able to have education in order to prevent. So that's, how I come at it is letting the public know like what these drugs are that are in the drug supply.
Right.
We know that there's a drug supply issue. We know that, there are drugs in our community.
Right.
But what those drugs are, again, using the multi-stat to quickly get that information out.
Right.
Also, how to prevent deaths from those drugs that are being ingested.
Right.
So, yeah, it is critically important. And again, I come at this from a totally different perspective because I personally have been impacted by fentanyl and other drugs, whether it's friends or family or, children of some of my closest friends as well. And so this definitely impacts our community in a pretty significant way. So I think this, having the information is critical.
Gotcha. Well, that wraps it up, and I commend you. I mean, you are a leader in your community, and I know that people look up to you as being a leader because I've researched it myself, so I know. I know, like, you're the real deal, and I appreciate it. I thank you. Again, this is Alfie McGinty from Marion County.
Thank you.
Thank you now.